Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. So, just me and talking to you, that sort of thing. There'll be games, movies, TV, there'll be something from the week, there'll be probably some sort of conversation about what kind of exercise has been going on in the last week, all wrapped into one little bundle called a podcast. If you're checking us out on YouTube and you're not a subscriber, if you just want to click that subscribe button, click for notifications, that way you'll be up to date when the new videos come out, and it's a huge help to the channel, and we appreciate it. So here we go, this is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Ooh, right, here we go. I tell you, it gets later and later. I get not distracted. I have busy nights of the week. I have not so busy nights of the week. Well, not as busy nights of the week. Every night there's something. You can guarantee on the night that I've got, quote unquote, nothing, and it's very much I'm really gonna kick back and relax. Every time, without fail, something comes up. So this podcast has become like, I'll just do this beforehand, I'll just do this, I'll try and fit this in. You know, I sit down to eat and it's like, maybe I can watch that and do this before I go on podcast. So it's like 9 o'clock. Matters not one jot to you. But it's like, you know, when you're like, I've got this to do, then I've got like other jobs to do before I can actually sit down and relax. So, yeah, not sure how relevant any of that was. I was doing something which has allowed me, dear listener, to bring more podcast content to you. So really, I was doing it for you. Yeah, let's go out. Right, I've got a bit of a list. Some stuff will absolutely fly through. Other stuff probably fly through as well. Okay, so unfortunately we are back to lockdown talk. I've tried to avoid it because I felt it was getting super boring, or I was just getting really bored of talking about it. But there's been quite a significant change in the last week, and then another change today. Not an hour. So York was placed into tier 2. Now I'm going to say this straight off the bat. I'm going to get this right out at the front. I don't know what the tiers mean. I have to ask people. Well, you know, when somebody's like, "Oh, see, we've gone into X tier," and I'm like, "Oh, all right, okay. So what does that mean?" "Oh, it looks like we're going to be going into the next tier." Okay. What does that mean? And ultimately, I think it has reached that point now that people just haven't got a clue. You know, you can be indoors, but I mean, it seems very much like you can be indoors as long as it's a pub. Everything seems to centre around whether you can go to the pub. And for a man who goes to the pub a handful of times a year, that's probably why I don't recognise it as much. My question is, can I still go to the supermarket? Because that is somewhere I go. Can I still take the children to X place? Well, is it outdoors? Is it a pub? So York has been placed on tier 2 lockdown. Recently I'd seen some stuff, or I'd heard some stuff, or people had told me that the one thing you can't do in all of this is blame the students, the return of students to universities. You're not allowed to blame them for any spikes. And then that's then followed up with, here's a map of where all the cases are in your area, for example, in York. And all of the areas are where the students live. You can't blame them because it's not their fault. Obviously, I shouldn't now go on to talk about the stuff that I would talk to other people about. Opinions like arseholes, and I'm an arsehole. I don't have a solution to this problem, other than shutting everything down, locking people in their houses, telling them not to go anywhere for the next 2-3 weeks, and seeing if that does anything. Something I have noticed an increase in is conversations around how rules don't affect X person, rules don't affect Y activity, rules don't affect doing something because insert excuse here. And this was always going to be the problem. You can't tell people to do something for too long before people start to go, do you know what? Fuck this. So yes, and then obviously today they're like, oh yeah, it looks like York's going to go into tier 3 lockdown, and again I'm like, so what's that mean? I do believe the difference between tier 2 and tier 3 is that hospitality has to close at tier 3, but I don't even know if that's true. I can't tell you the difference. I know that there is a difference, I'm sure. I've seen the thing on Facebook where it's like, here's the explanation of the tiers. Tier 1, fucked. Tier 2, really fucked. Tier 3, proper fucked. That is, that's where I probably fall into the, yeah. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Shouldn't talk about things you don't know and or understand. Update on the greatest joke ever. Yet again, said to my middle daughter, this part of the joke won't work or on audio. But anyway, I'll try and explain it the best I can. So we know the last couple of weeks there's been this running joke between me and my middle daughter about the fact that I went to the cinema, and I asked her if she wanted to know what film I was going to see, and she said no, and it's absolutely killed me since then. Then, after I'd been to the cinema, I went to the cinema. Do you want to know what film I went to see? No. And then she reeled me in. She was like, yeah, go on then. I was like, you want to know? She was like, no. So it's just I'm off again. Jesus. Easily pleased. That's the moral here. So it's a new incarnation.
said to my middle daughter, oh, shit, man. I said to the middle daughter, hey, remember I went to the cinema? And she looked at me and I was like, do you want to know what I went to see? She looked me dead in the eye and then just slowly, whilst locking my gaze, slowly started shaking her head. And I was just like, this is the gift that keeps on giving. And I told her that I'd been telling you guys about it. I think she was a bit like, really? Like, yes, because it is hilarious. There is possibly an element of you had to be there, but maybe not. I've told it to a few people found it funny, so I'm just keeping you guys up to date. I think it might have run its course, so you might escape from this line of conversation come next week. Who knows? Talking of children, at the weekend, what we're going to do? What we're going to do with children? Let's go to the farming museum. Now that had been an option that had been put on the table. Another one of those. I'm a big fan of the yearly ticket. It's a bit of one of those that, depending where it is and depending when you're going and stuff, I feel a little bit like a bandit. Like at this point in time, I feel like I want to pay. I don't. But part of me feels like I want to pay the farming museum again, because it's all about getting your money's worth. Toyed with the idea of going. Ultimately, it's a bit of a walk. Obviously, it's outdoors. They have animals and children. You know, they've got different areas. They've got a Roman area. They've got a Viking area, a farming museum area. It's just, they've got a park as well. So as a place to go, it kind of packs everything in it. It gives you what you want. It's literally down the road. It's one of those, if it wasn't across like some fairly major main roads, I'd kind of want to walk it, but... So, I toyed with the idea of going anyway. You know, it ticks a lot of boxes. Close. Could just go for a couple of hours. Another good one, just a couple of hours. You know, don't have to take pack up, picnic, both, whichever. It's just there. You just go, a couple of hours, bit of walk, fresh air, get everyone ready for, lunch or tea or whatever. It's a real box ticker. Added to this was the Viking area of the Fire Museum was having a Viking reenactment. Right, that sounds good. A list of stuff that they were doing, bits and bobs, dyeing. Initially I thought it was going to be clothes, but it turned out to be like wool. They were dyeing wool. People dressed in period costume, various things like that. Not a huge amount going on. We went a bit later in the day, so I don't know if there was maybe a bit more going on. Who knows? But there was a guy who was making jewellery from like bone and leather, and he was making a comb out of bone, which obviously rhymes. And he was showing us some of the stuff, and I'd said to Leanne, I was like, this is the problem, because the girls aren't interested really all that much in listening to a guy talk about making stuff. I could have stood there all day. I was fascinated. Obviously from a certain background of mine, somebody sits and makes something, it's fascinating. And they were talking, the guy was talking, like, Obviously, I'm a big fan of passion. Like, if somebody's passionate about something, I'm a fan of that. And he was very passionate about what he was doing. It was one of those. It was like, oh, if you do want to buy something, it's like, oh yeah, actually, how much is this? And then he told us the price. It was like, oh, all right, okay, of course, you've made this yourself and you've put work in, and it's very intricate and it's very delicate and reasonably expensive for little people to be paying out for. But then on the other side, if you're not buying bone, on the other side, you're going to buy some leather. That was a lot cheaper. Got some leather necklaces. They were cool. Everyone got one for one reason or another. So, it was that, and I'd gone around a section of the museum that I'd not been around previously. So that was cool, like, the machinery, and it tells you about, as museums do, tell you about what the machinery is there for. And it was a jolly good time. Now then, as part of the Fire Museum, they have a station, as in a train station, and they have trains. On a Sunday, throughout the day, they do a shunting demonstration, which I was like, sounds kind of cool. Children love trains. How about we do that? We floated the idea with them. Oh yeah, go see the trains. So on Sunday we went to do that. Bit of a mix, that one. I think my eldest got cold real quick. It was a bit of a fresh morning. She got cold real quick. My middle daughter got lost interest so far through the process, and she just wanted pick it up and I do because they all weigh different, they all weigh different amounts. I do curls with them, so I ended up doing curls with her. And then the baby, she gets jealous, so she's barging the middle one out of the way and being like, well, I want to go. So I had to lift her up and stuff like that. Then I was trying to lift them both up and trying to find a way that I could lift both, one in one hand, one in the other hand, all this. So ultimately, the shunting, no matter how fascinating it is to adults, turned out not to be overly as fascinating to children. Shame. We went and had a wanderer, looked at the animals. They had different animals from the day before. It's huh? They had other chickens. I wandered, had a look, had a mooch, and then that was that. Tried to watch a film in the afternoon. There'd been this whole, I don't even know how to get into explaining it. I tried to do a job in the afternoon which had overrun, because it's we've got this job to do, but let's make it fun. So there was a merry-go-round. Why didn't you can go on the merry-go-round if you want. And then it all overran, and then I'm trying to fit a film in, and all of this. I will talk about the film in a minute, because there's this huge long list of stuff. Ultimately, what I will say is the year-long ticket is an absolute steal if you go somewhere that you can use. I kind of wish I lived closer to the deep, or didn't have to drive the hell drive that it is to get there. Also, don't want to badmouth them, but of all the year tickets we bought, most of the places involved, or certainly the other big ticket that we had, contacted us at the end of full-blown lockdown, and they were like, look, because we've been locked down all this time, we're going to give you 6 months on your ticket. Like, that's super cool. That's cool. The Deep, however, no. You had your year, 6 months of those you were locked down, but hey, that's your problem, isn't it? It's like, alright, cool. So yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, that, you know, for me it's like, didn't buy anything in the gift shop. You know, it's just, like I say, you start feeling like a bit of a bandit after a while. I have an update. This time last week I was telling you about how Monday morning I was holding back the tears, having stepped on the scales. Today was a different story. Now, right at this point in time, you're like, well, it's going to only go one 2 ways. Either you lost some weight or you put some on. Thankfully for everybody involved, I actually lost weight this week. First time in 5 weeks of absolutely everything that's been going on. I lost some weight. If you're interested, it was just a couple of pounds. Certainly a couple more than none. So there you go. Before stepping on the scales, I'd got back from doing what I am now calling the harder run. I feel that run is, it feels like it's uphill the whole way, but there's that part of me, that torturous part of me that's like, it's Monday morning, you know full well that you're getting on the scales, you know full well that it's that horrible, you know, Monday morning horse shit. You know that your day at work is going to be pretty bad because you know that you've got X amount of crap to deal with, and then you're moving on to deal with like stuff that's not overly easy, so on and so forth. So me being me, I'm like, right, well that means that we have to go and do the more difficult of the 2 runs. Really make it suck balls. I went out, I did it, I didn't stop. I really hit a stride today. Touch wood. That's me touching wood. Touch wood. The stride I hit today, it's where I always say, you know, I don't think I can really call it running. It's not running, it's moving in a forward momentum ever so slightly quicker than walking. What I find that I feel I should name it. Is it a waddle? No, because waddling's what pregnant women do. You know, that like between 8 and 9 months of being pregnant, or they just waddle like penguins. So it's not a waddle. Oh Jesus, I was going to combine a walk and a jog. Jesus. Jog? Don't know. I'll come back to that. That's probably not the point. I completed it, no stops. I had this real cool stride where I was just like, just take it steady, take it slow. Yes, take it slow. Can you imagine how fast that is? I went out for a run on Saturday. I got accosted by a dog. If I was still doing pet love, pet hate, I've got so many pet hates at the moment. That's why I'm not doing pet love, pet hate. But yeah, I have this thing about there's a certain type of person who owns a certain type of dog who believes with every fibre of their being that dog, you can definitely let it off the lead. Absolutely. There's no reason to put it on a lead. I mean, it is completely uncontrollable, and it doesn't respond to your voice in any way, shape or form. So you can definitely not put it on a lead and wonder why it's not in your house or your garden, but is actually in a garden 5 houses away from yours. And you're wondering why you can't find it. It's a mystery, isn't it? The short version is I had to stop as part of that run to deal with a unruly dog. So yeah, I did the run. I got back. I was preparing for my shower. I was a little apprehensive. Stepped on the scale, saw the number, and I did let out a little yay, and then I got in the shower. I am, as we went through last week, I am at the point now that I really don't know. I was talking about this morning. I was like, yeah, but we've got to look how I achieved that tiny weight loss. I've missed a series of meals in the last week. That's the level we're at now. It's like, oh, I didn't eat breakfast today. In fact, you know something? On Saturday, I don't think I ate breakfast or lunch. Yesterday, I don't think I ate lunch. So I'd underestimated on that one. So yeah, I've missed a series of meals. I don't think, but I know that's not healthy. It's not the way to do it. So yeah. Hey, here's a retro podcast situation. Sounds like there'll be a little pause coming up because old school. It's real old school. I'm all over the map today. Maybe it's doing it late. That right there, ladies and germs, is the stuff from the week. I have watched some television. Not terrestrial TV. Obviously, I don't watch none of that rubbish. I was quite looking forward to. I'd seen a TV show called The Cabin, which is on Netflix. Bert Kreischer. Because of following Bert on Instagram, I'd been aware of the making of that show. Obviously, then you see it being advertised. I was aware that X number of comedians were in it, X number of other people. It's not just necessarily comedians, mostly comedians. So I was really looking forward to it, and I'm pretty sure watched the first 2 episodes of The Cabin the day it was released. Few things about this. Definitely feels like they should have decided what type of show it was going to be before making it, I think. So it's got like these elements of, we're sitting down, we're being real, we're talking, we're having a good time, we're experiencing these things in this quote unquote cabin. Yet they've added a reality TV show element to it. Anybody want to guess the bit of the show that really, really does not work? Like, really doesn't work. It's awful. It's so fake. It's so unbelievable. It's so it's not needed. Like, every episode, I'm like, do you know what would have made that episode better? If they hadn't have done the reality TV show stuff. Basically, it's like, I'm going to be on the phone to this person. It's like, it's all scripted, it's all staged, it's all bullshit. Completely unnecessary, completely unneeded. The rest of the show works fine. It doesn't need it. It's only 5 episodes, and I think at this point in time I've watched 4 of the 5 episodes. Another thing that they did really wrong. The first episode of The Cabin is Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Joey Diaz. It was phenomenal. It was hilarious. I laughed hard at that episode. Every episode since then has been not a scratch on that first episode. They should have done it the other way around. They should have done all the other episodes first and had that as the last episode. Because basically they blew their load in the first episode and it has been downhill since then. And a lot of the stuff that they've been doing doesn't make any sense, and they've tried to float all these ideas and they just don't work. It's very much a, when it's good, and when it's not good, it's terrible. I would personally like to go, like, they've only done 5 episodes, like if they were doing like a 10 episode thing, I'd love to go to them and be like, right, you've done 5 episodes, that they are done, they are what they are. Here's how to do the next 5. Get rid of that element, give us more of that, less of that, and that's your next 5 episodes. But yeah, it's listed as like series 1. Like, it's 5 episodes, and they're not like hour long or hour and a half or whatever, any of that sort of stuff. They're 25-minute episodes. So I feel like Netflix are probably trying to capitalise on some of these people. I imagine Bert and Tom's specials do very well, and obviously Bert was a TV star for a long time, so I think they're probably trying to cash in on that. But the fact that it's only 5 episodes probably says a lot in a lot of ways. It's just that thing, isn't it? When you're looking forward to something and you see something that looks really cool, and then it's not as good as you hoped it was going to be, then you're just disappointed. So, speaking of Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura and disappointment, that sets it up wrong. The thing I was doing before I came up to record this was watching the last hour of the Two Bears, One Cave live podcast. I've probably talked previously about the Your Mum's House live podcast. I am not a super huge Your Mum's House fan. I've always said, I listen to or watch the episodes I'm interested in, but I don't subscribe and I don't religiously watch it. But having seen that there was this live event, and they're not hugely expensive, it was like, I kind of, from what I'm hearing, I kind of feel like I missed out. And then they almost immediately announced a second one. I was like, I'm getting on that. So I watched it, and yeah. Next thing, they're like, Two Bears, One Cave live. I was like, holy shitballs, yes. So my point here is, Two Bears, One Cave is probably my favourite podcast. For a long time it was Hollywood Babylon, and on some, catch me on the right day, Hollywood Babylon probably would still be my favourite. Two Bears has come along more recently, so And it's a lot of what I want from a podcast. It's Bert, it's Tom. Bert and Tom being Bert and Tom. It's up there. So they were like, oh, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, we're going to be doing the other. It's great, it's cool, all this. So I'm like, yeah, I'm all over that. I'll pay my money out. I paid for it weeks ago. It aired Friday. Obviously, I didn't watch it live. I watched. It was 2 hours 40 minutes, and I watched an hour and 40 minutes of it Saturday night. And I can tell you this: I laughed hard, like crying, unable to breathe, not knowing whether I was going to make it through kind of laughter. Like, you think for a split second, am I going to die from laughing this much? That level. We're talking that sort of level. So that was that. I'm like, this is fantastic. Problem you've got is that there was this whole thing. It's like, oh, we're going to be drinking, we're going to be smoking, smoking weed. We're going to be taking, we're going to be doing coke. We're going to go to a dominatrix. We're going to all of this, eating edibles, all sorts. I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. We'll come back to that. But what we've basically got is, obviously, Bert's a big drinker. Tom, not as much, but Tom's like, oh, I'll be eating edibles. So Tom's eating all these edibles. Bert's drinking wine like it is going out of fashion. So an hour and 40 minutes in, you're like, this is really good. And then it hits a wall. And the next thing, it's like, Bert's super pissed, Tom's super stoned. They've got an interview with Sean Evans. They'd interviewed a guy who was a porn star. And that was kind of alright. It was, as a segment, it was fine. But then they interviewed, they had Sean Evans on, the guy from the hot sauce show. I don't know what it's called. I just know that the wings with hot sauce on. And it was fine. It was fine as an interview, perfectly fine, absolutely no problems. But it was just like, this has really dropped this down a gear. And then that was sort of done. And around that area, that sort of took up kind of in the region of like 20 minutes, half an hour. And then the next half an hour was just Bert and Tom. Tom was really stoned and Bert was really pissed. As if you didn't know, because they mentioned it every 2 seconds. And Bert's just ringing people he knows. And then Tom realises that it's basically gone off the rails and is like, we need to end this. And Bert's like, no, let's do it. He's like, no, we need to end it. And it just went like that for X amount of time. And then it finished. And I was like, do you know something? If they'd have done an hour and 40 minutes, and then if there'd have been 10 minutes more where they put all the dominatrix stuff into it, and any sort of, and kind of wrapped it up, kept it real tight, it would have been fantastic. But typically, everything I saw Saturday night, I'm like, this is brilliant. This is definitely worth the money. Everything I watched this evening, I'm like, I could have done without this. And yeah, there was bits I laughed, and I laughed a lot at, but I'm like, you could have got all of that in like 10 more minutes, got it real tight, got it before it went off the rails, and been done, and got out clean. So I have a bone to pick with this process. So here's the advertisement: 2 Bears, 1 Cave. I'm in. Live. I'm in. We're gonna drink. We're gonna smoke weed, eat edibles, snort coke, and go to a dominatrix. And I'm like, yep, absolutely. I am ticking all that. I'm there. Take my money now. Tom's got his edibles. They've got loads of alcohol. But it's like, oh, I brought all this weed. I brought all these joints. Look at these joints that I brought. Oh my God, I brought all these before I realised or was informed that the premises is a no smoking premises and we can't have any of these. So I'm like, okay. I feel that's a little misleading, and I also feel something you would have definitely found out before advertising it. The whole way through, Tom's like, how are we getting on with that coke? Oh, the guy says he's on his way. Oh, that's the problem with coke dealers, they're always on the way. Through the whole thing, next thing, Tom's like, how are we getting on with that coke? I could really do with it because I'm feeling a little sleepy. Oh, well, the guy stopped responding to me about half an hour ago. Like, alright. And you know that this is the back end because you know how long it was on for. I was like, okay, so let's rewind. You're advertising Dominatrix, that happened. Coke didn't happen. Weed, smoking weed didn't happen. Edibles did happen. Drinking did happen. So, like, 60% of the stuff you advertise happened, 40% of it didn't. Pretty sure that's like false advertising. A lot of the stuff I feel that you drew people in with knowing full well those things weren't going to happen. I'm saying no, I believe that's false advertising. So there. Movies. I've got a couple of films I'm not going to dwell on too much. Well, that's not true. One of them I am going to dwell on a little bit. I mentioned before about watching a movie yesterday, and I said I'd come back to it. And then I watched a film that I've never seen before. So, I've been watching all the Marvel films, like watching the ones I wanted to watch and stuff. I got to a point where I was like, well, I've watched them all. So I was like, oh, hang on a minute. There was stuff I didn't watch. Any of those I fancy watching? So I'd watched Thor. I watched the second one. I know people don't like the second one. So I was going through the stuff that I hadn't watched. Winter Soldier was on the list. I was like, Winter Soldier. That's a film that I know I've seen a few times and I very rarely remember what it's about. Even now, I've watched it in the last week, and even now I'm a bit sketchy. So I watched it. Not going to dwell on it too much, other than the fact that, follow me on this one. Assassin's Creed, not the movie, the games. So Assassin's Creed, the games, they follow a very prescriptive, very simple premise. You've got a character, they've got, they start out in one place, they become an assassin, and they carry on the story as an assassin. And they've got, the hidden blade, and sometimes they've got a hidden gun, and sometimes they've got, daggers or something, whatever. That goes all the way through to the now then, was it called Odyssey? You see, I get confused. There was the Egyptian one, and then there was the one after the Egyptian one, which was the Roman one. One was called Odyssey. I think the Roman one was called Odyssey. I don't want to have to Google it, and I don't want to have to lean forward to see what it says on that box right there. Which am I going to do? I'm going to Google it, I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to lean forward, come on. Assassin's Creed. Ah, Jesus, it's in the fucking doll, isn't it? Odyssey. No, that's Tomb Raider. Right, Odyssey's the Rome one. So that's what I'm talking about. Now I've no idea what these ones are called. Odyssey, I always said it was a perfectly fine game. It was, in some aspects, a great game. It was like 100+ hours. But it shouldn't have had the name Assassin's Creed, because you didn't have the blade, and the blade to me is what makes Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. I know they're making a big deal about how in the new one, which the blade's back, so it's fine. And I'm like, well, at least it's more of an Assassin's Creed game. Winter Soldier, I feel that there are elements of that it shouldn't be a Marvel film. Because it's like I look at it like it's an espionage movie rather than a superhero movie. Because the people that are in it, you've got Captain America, let's face it, the worst of the Marvel superheroes, especially in the movies. But the movies have done an amazing job of making Captain America a better character. Black Widow, I mean, no superpowers. Falcon, no superpowers. He's basically got a jetpack. Is that it? Nick Fury, no superpowers. Maria Hill, no superpowers. It's a collection of people who barely rate on the superhero scale. But it's this big. It's not a murder mystery. It's an espionage film. So I watched Winter Soldier and I was like, I don't think this should be a Marvel film, even though it's a Marvel film. So that was my observation with that. The other one I watched was Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a perfectly fine film. I hadn't watched it at the time because I chose to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I'd only seen once previously. In hindsight, maybe I should have done them the other way around. Ant-Man is perfectly fine. So there you go. So, long story short, my eldest wanted to watch, now I've got to get the name right, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory again. They've been doing it at school a lot, in various different forms. They watched the remake, which I've never seen, largely because I don't get on hugely with remakes, and the other reason is everything I saw of it was just really creepy. That I personally feel that they have completely missed the mark with Johnny Depp and that film. Everything about that character is just creepy. Obviously that's probably the idea, but I don't understand why. So the whole concept was lost on me and I had no interest in seeing it, so I've never seen it. They watched it at school and I was like, oh, okay. And I don't think it's gone down too well with her because she's seen the other one. So she was very much like, I want to watch the other one again because I like that one. And I was like, that's fine, I'm happy for you to watch it, I'm happy to watch it with you. Now here's the thing. I've got on Twitter, I don't know how to describe, I've got Shooter McGavin on Twitter. Yes, from Happy Gilmore, which I watched the other day. I didn't feel I really needed to go into it, but I did watch Happy Gilmore the other day. Great film, even though, Sandler. So, obviously that's one of those things where it's obviously not Shooter McGavin. It's just a Twitter page. For a while it was doing this thing, secret bad guy in movies. I don't know if I covered this previously. Anyway, it's relevant. And I'd seen this thing where it said there is a secret bad guy in Charlie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it's Grandpa Joe, and it listed the reasons why. The family's got no money. yet he spends money on tobacco when they can't even afford to eat. He is quote unquote bedridden and has been for 20 years, yet at the point that he is in a position to gain something from getting out of bed. There was this whole thing about like his daughter works, even his grandson's working, yet he's too lazy to get out of bed. But the moment he might actually gain something like going to the chocolate factory, suddenly not bedridden anymore. The bit I caught, I was in and out a little bit, but the bit I caught about all of that was there's a song where he's singing about he's got a golden ticket. It's like, no you haven't. Charlie's got the golden ticket. And I remember saying at the time, his portrayal in the film is different to his portrayal in the book. In the book, you're fine with it all. In the film, and since seeing that thing on Twitter and having seen it again since, like obviously we watched it the first time, I was like, he's a really questionable character in that film. Saw that thing on Twitter and then we watched it again and I was like, he absolutely is the bad guy of the film. Like full on. He is the bad guy. If there needs to be one. So yeah, there was that. I watched Hotel Artemis. Film that I wanted to see a while ago, like when it came out and stuff, largely because it seemed to have this amazing cast. And there was all these people in it. Let's see if I can name some. Jodie Foster. What I will say is I really hope that Jodie Foster doesn't actually look like that. I know, she won't look like that. But some of the elements of the way that she looks in the film, I was like, geez, I hope you don't look like that now. Because that would be really sad. Dave Bautista. Something, I'm going to go on record at this point in time, at time of recording, and say, I quite like Dave Bautista. I've listened to some podcasts he's done. I've seen some of his stuff on Twitter, and some of the movie stuff he's been doing, and I think he seems like a decent bloke, and I quite enjoy some of the stuff he does. Like I've seen the Guardians movies recently. He was very good in Hotel Artemis. So good on Dave Bautista. So there's those two. There was a guy in it that I recognised but couldn't tell you what I've seen him in. There was a woman in it, same, recognised, couldn't tell you. Part of me thinks that she might have been in a John Wick. But don't quote me on that. Charlie Day is in it. Big, and I do enjoy Charlie Day in things. Another woman, couldn't tell you what she was in. Then I was going to say Zachary Levi. It's not. It's Zachary Quinto. Not a huge fan. Yeah, probably leave that there. It just like I often feel the roles he plays, he doesn't play them right. If that makes sense. I think the best thing he did was his role in Heroes. I was really on board with that role. And then I've seen a few things that he's been in, and I'm like, no. Like he was in that Hitman film, and I really felt he was the worst aspect of it and stuff like that. Zachary Levi. See, there you go, I did it. Zachary Quinto. The one that got me, of all the people that were in it, Jeff Goldblum's in it. And he's on the poster, he's on the picture, he's on the front cover or whatever. He's in the trailer. For the amount of time he's actually in that film, it's like I probably wouldn't have bothered. A very odd basically a cameo. Just weird. So it's an odd mismatch movie. One of those things. It's set in the future, which I think films kind of learnt their lesson about setting stuff in the future when, you know, we predicted flying cars and you know, things, you know, Judgment Day and things that make food out of thin air and all that sort of stuff. And then those years came and went, and we were just, you know, no further on really. So initially, quite a bold move. It was a lot about the medical side of stuff. You know, although it's called Hotel Artemis, it's essentially a hospital for criminals. So there's like a medical side to things. Real sort of mismatch moving. A little bit of a kind of a siege kind of thing, a little bit of a, you know, a little bit raid, I suppose, a bit dread in some ways, and all these various other elements. It was enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I was happy that I'd sat down and watched it. It was good, wholesome fun. Weirdly, one of the, like, sort of the elements of the story around it, it was a bit like, it's a little too close to the bone. So yeah, if you're in the mood for a good time movie wise, give Hotel Artemis a whirl. It's available on Prime. If you've got Prime, it's available on Prime, so it's free in a lot of ways. Let's talk computer games. Which order should we do this in? Did I tell you about Gears of War? I downloaded Gears of War 5, did the intro, did like the training, then watched the intro and went, yeah, I didn't play Gears of War 4, did I? Attempted to download Gears of War 4 and it was like, yeah, cool, it's 100 gig. 101, I think it was. It's like, jeez. I had to delete Gears of War 5 to even have a hope in hell of downloading it. I downloaded Gears of War 4 and was like, right, let's give it a go. I've played most of them up till this point. I think I've missed one maybe. Judgment might ring a bell. They are games that don't overly do anything for me. I described Gears of War today as a game I don't enjoy playing, a game I just want to get to the next bit. Weirdly, having played Gears of War 4 on 2 separate days, the first day I was like, man, just get me through this game. The second day I was playing it, I actually did start enjoying it a little bit. It was like a bit of a siege kind of thing going on. You've got to set up defences and stuff, and then sort of hold the line. That was actually enjoyable. One of those, you know, I'm a bit like, I guess I'm going to have to go back to it. I guess I'm going to have to play more of it. I guess I'm going to have to try and finish it. It's that for me. It's not a game that's made for me. Does feel a lot like, you know, those games where you play the campaign and it's just training for multiplayer. Feels a lot like that. And Gears of War has a huge multiplayer audience, so, you know, probably makes sense. Still on with Dishonored 2. I'm up to this level and I was trying to explain it to a couple of people today, and I was saying, sometimes you get a game or a level or a certain type of game which then gives you a certain type of level where just the task in front of you just seems to be too daunting a task to be able to play it or to want to play it or have the inclination to play it, and that's what's happened. So I was on this level. It was like a Clockwork Mansion, and it was driving me up the wall. I had to look up a walkthrough. The walkthrough was useless. Turned out that there was a tiny, like a one line in the walkthrough. I was like, I guess I can try that. Didn't think anything of it, and it turned out obviously that was the way to do it, which got me off that level in the end. I'll have spent many hours on that one level alone. So, the next level after that was super enjoyable. I really, really enjoyed the level after that. Largely because I was sort of doing it and I was progressing, and I got so far and I was like, oh right, it wants me to do this, and I did it, and it wanted me to do something else, and I did it, and then it wanted me to do something else, and I did it, and then I finished the objective, and then it's like, go back to the boat, and I'm like, okay, and I had a side mission, and the side mission was on the way back to the boat, so I went and did the side mission, and then I went back to the boat, and it was like, you've done that? I'm like, sweet, that was super cool. But now it's like, oh, here's your level. You've got these areas. Some areas you can go in fine, other areas you can't. I'm like, don't like the sound of that. Then it's like, oh, and you've got these two enemies, and they both have these like two different ways that you have to fight them. I'm like, don't like the sound of that. Or you could not do the main objective and do a different objective, still get the same result. I was like, okay, but the alternative objective is just wander around and see if you can find stuff like clues. I was like, I don't like the sound of that either. So I've done some of the level, and weirdly, this is the one level where I've got the most ruins for upgrades. Previously I haven't managed to get all that many. However, now I've got quite a few more, so I'm a bit like, oh well, at least that's something, but it feels a super daunting task is in front of me. So there's that kind of thing. I will go back to it, but I am feeling a little bit like, do I want to? So yeah, that's that. I'm still playing Forza Motorsport 7, but that's very much I just put on and do a couple of races. Did do a whole series of races where you could pick the car. It's like any car you want, and the other racers will pick their cars to be somewhere in the vicinity of yours. I was like, cool, because I've recently had this upgrade to get the Hoonigan vehicles. So I went through the list and it's like, I'm absolutely picking the Hoonicorn. So I did a race I did a series of races in the Hoonicorn, and that was hilarious because it is so insanely fast that once you get out in front of the pack, that's it. You're just like away. It was crazy. The other game that I put on because I was waiting for an update, and I was like, I need something to put on for a bit. Don't hate me for this, but I put No Man's Sky on. Started a new game. It's always the same. Always the same. Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's me playing No Man's Sky. Because ultimately, the game lies to you. It's like, do you know how to build a bit of metal? You get these things and then you build some metal. It's like, cool. Do you know how to build this other thing? Well, you get a load of things and you put them together and you make it, and then you can repair your ship and then you can leave the planet. It's like, cool, all this is really, really good. It's like, yeah, you think that, but here's the thing. You never, ever ever going to get ahead in this game. You will always be on the back foot. You will always be behind. You will never essentially succeed in this game. And I keep going back to it, and I keep doing the start, and I keep getting so far, and I keep being like, this time's going to be different. They've done updates to the game, so they'll have updated it so it's not as bad. And you know, it's a real surprise to me when that's absolutely not the case. So yes, yeah, there's that. I'm digging Game Pass. It cost me £1, and I am rinsing it for content, which is fun. My worry is that I'm not going to get overly far in all of the games I'm playing before my month trial is up, and then they're going to want like £11 from me, and I would have to toss up whether it was worth £11. I still feel that's probably on the expensive side, especially playing games that I've played before. One of the games that I really did want to play it's available to download, and then when you try and play it, it's like, this game isn't out yet. Alright. Which is Gears Tactics, which I believe is an RTS, but set in the Gears of War universe. Sounded kind of fun. So that is that. Have I got anything left? Any other business? Still running, still working out. No surprises there. I've been talking about the running, so that's maybe it. Weird time to take a drink, but hey. Thank you for joining me and allowing me to join you. Until next time, I'll say bye. I'll see you then. Bye.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done. Another week gone. Getting close to that time, people. Ugh, where does the time go? YouTube watchers, if you could subscribe, it'd be amazing. You'd really be helping us out. And ultimately, helping yourself, because it ensures more fantastic content. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com. Check us out over there. Check us out what we've got going on. Maybe even drop us a line. How about that? So that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.